with how I was talking with Tone earlier, with my guy, and let's bring Philly.500 up. Brother, how you doing?
I'm hanging in there, man. How are you?
All right. Here's my problem with having Nick Sirianni in the building.
Okay.
I have a problem with him. Ready?
Yeah.
Early in the year, I don't want to hear this if they say they lose to the Giants or something or Dallas. And the first question in the locker room is, hey, what about your coach being on the hot seat? What about your coach fighting for his job? You know, Philly, that's something I don't want to have to deal with, like extra noise BS. That's my
Yeah.
problem. Either cut loose or don't cut loose with this thing
Yeah.
here. That's
Yeah.
the problem that I have with him in the building.
I totally 100% agree. That's why I would have cleaned house. I've said this before. I don't know how he makes it through the year. Like to have the epic historical collapse that you just did, and then to bring him back, to me, just means more of the same old stuff. You're going to just keep doing what you've been doing. And I don't know if this guy can get the locker room back. I mean, we're going to find out. But I agree. It's going to be asked every game. Every time if they lose, it's going to be asked. If they struggle, it's going to be asked. It's going to be all they talk about during training camp. Yeah, it's going to be there constantly.
What's your takeaways on the two new coordinators, Kellen Moore offensively and Vic Fangio over on defense?
Not my first choice. I probably would have liked to see it go a different way. But I say this: I like that if you're going to run a Vic Fangio system, have it be Vic Fangio that's going to run it. And then as far as Kellen Moore goes, I truly believe he's not as bad as Cowboy fans like to say. I think this is a guy that was a scapegoat for the Cowboy fans and the front office for years. They blame him for the fact that their coach is a choker and that their quarterback is a choker. I thought that Kellen Moore sounds like the perfect Eagle hire. This is a team that does not want to run the ball, and he doesn't run the ball a lot, and they like to throw. And the one thing I'll say about Kellen Moore, and you talk about Dallas Cowboys and Dak and the season he had. I thought the season a few years ago when he had CeeDee Lamb, Amari Cooper, Cedric Wilson, Gallup, I thought that was their best offense. And if he can do that with what we have, I think we'll be okay.
Let me throw the topic questions of the show at you here. Do you think that this is a complete rebuild that we're talking about with the Eagles?
No, this is not a rebuild at all. To me, the idea of a rebuild went out the window when you brought Nick Sirianni back. How can you be in a rebuild with a coach that is 2-3 games away from getting fired? You have two experienced head defensive coordinator, offensive coordinators coming in. Well, Fangio's 60-something years old. He's not coming in for a rebuild. Kellen Moore's 6 years. He probably wants to be a head coach sometime. He's not coming in for a rebuild. The coaches that they've put into place, even the defensive line coach, even these are former defensive coordinators. This isn't a rebuild. If they're rebuilding, you got to fire the coach. So to me, no rebuild. That's not their plan.
You know what? I love what you just said. You gave that football team a backhanded slap, which is a brilliant way of how you put it out there, because you're saying they're going to wallow in their own shit again for another year until they decide to right the ship because the head coach has been brought back. So we're pretty much going to see the same as we saw last year, because, again, Howie doesn't believe there's an issue with the linebacking core. He doesn't believe that it's a talent issue, and it is on that side of the ball. And you're going to have a guy who's going to run less. So you're actually turning the offense and Philly into a finesse team.
Yeah,
and getting away from the power running team. You're getting further away from 22 with these new coordinators. You understand that?
Yeah. And, well, I mean, we'll see what Kellen Moore does. I'm curious because I don't think he's as bad as the rap is. I actually don't think it's necessarily a bad. I really don't have a problem with either of those guys. I prefer like a whole different defensive scheme, but I think that they got experienced coaches because they feel that they have the talent to win. So I expect them to retool. I think you're going to see a very active free agency. I think Howie's going to bring in a lot of guys, and I think there's going to be a couple big moves. I think they're going to go and double down and try to go back to where they were a few years ago.
How about this one? What do you think Jalen Hurts' ceiling is?
I think Jalen Hurts can be a perennial all-pro type quarterback who can win a Super Bowl if given the opportunity and the right weapons around him. But I
He
think
has
you
the
have to
right
build
weapons.
around. Right. And I think what you had last year was you had really bad coaching. I mean, you had a historical collapse, and I believe that was linked to the coaching staff, especially offensively. So, defensively too, for that matter. But to me, that the issues last year were not the players and their talent. I think they got to 10-1 because of their talent. The issues have always been the coach and the coaching staff. That was the big issue last year.
Let me ask you this then. Okay. What more does he need? You have one guy you're paying $25 million in wide receiver. The other guy's a first rounder is going to get huge money. Tight end's making huge money. Both your tackles are making huge money.
Mm-hmm.
Quarterback makes huge money. Shit, Landon Dickerson's going to make $20 million here real soon because he's going to be top-end guy. You're going to have to pay that guy a boatload. My question to you is, when does it get to a point where you start looking at Jalen Hurts' $50 million and go, well, is he ever going to be something like Mahomes? And where I went earlier with Tone is this. Don't you think it's counterproductive to keep looking for the Patrick Mahomes in a haystack versus doing what the 49ers did by getting a guy who makes $870,000 a year, building up your roster and getting a complete roster build and a facelift in your roster where you're building a gigantic roster up like the Patriots did and like Kansas City's doing, searching for Patrick Mahomes or Tom Brady. To me, I'll say this. If I'm not giving Jalen Hurts another contract if he doesn't deliver a Super Bowl, why would I give I'm not giving that. Would you pay Dak Prescott, Philly, $60 million this offseason?
No, but
okay, well, when does it get to a point with Jalen? Do you think Jalen Hurts could take that Chiefs team and win a Super Bowl with the current talent on it? No. I don't.
No, I think Patrick Mahomes is far and above better than everybody else.
Okay, you're right. Okay, so Philly is a lot like San Francisco. The only difference, you're paying $50 million for that guy. You're paying $870,000 for that.
Yes, and no. There are two big things I think that we're missing here. One, I believe Jalen Hurts, and I think you would have said this last year. If he has time at the end of that Super Bowl, he's going down and winning it. I believe Jalen Hurts has the mental fortitude. I believe he is the good enough player. He is good enough to win games, big games. I think he can win you. Dak Prescott cannot win you. He comes up small in big games. You put Jalen Hurts in those positions, I think he wins. But he also needs good coaching. You also need coaches that put your players in a position to win. You need coaches that say, we're going to do what's right for the team and we're going to build around the talent instead of forcing things that aren't there. The 49ers have Shanahan. And then the other thing that the Eagles and Jalen Hurts are missing is that you have a team that drafted Deebo Samuel, that drafted Brandon Ayuk. They drafted these guys. They do great in the draft. We don't. So what do we have to do is we have to go spend resources on guys like A.J. Brown and trade for them because we can't draft in-house. Those are the three problems. If you fix those problems, in my opinion, Jalen Hurts will win you a Super Bowl. That's just what I think.
I love it. Very good. Very good. How about this one? We started something a couple weeks ago, and I'm going to keep addressing it with you about the potential on trading A.J. Brown. Now, hear me out. Okay? Kansas City trades A.J. Brown or Tyreek Hill. The Green Bay Packers trade Devontae Adams and Aaron Rodgers, and they're trending up. Mm-hmm. And you've got a young group of quarterback up there, that Jordan Love looks like he's heading in the right direction. My point is, you took some of those assets and you built your defense and your old lineup, and you built that side of the ball. Kansas City's in the Super Bowl because of two things, Philly. Pacheco and their defense. And, of course, Reed, and there's Mahomes.
Right.
You've got so many holes on – you're going to have to replace 9 guys on defense. That secondary's trash. Your linebackers are horrible. You need depth edge.
Right.
And you're right about one thing. Do you trust Howie if you gave him draft equity to retool it when he doesn't draft well at linebacker and he doesn't draft well at corner? Maybe you package this up. Trade A.J. Brown to the Denver Broncos straight up for Patrick Surtain, the best lockdown corner in the league. He's 24. What is he? Hey, look, A.J. had career years the last 2 years. Where's it gotten you? You don't have anything to show for it.
I think that this is a conversation that you could have maybe in 2 years. I don't.
2 years is too late. You'll never
No,
get a
I
one.
don't think it can happen. One, I don't think they'll trade Surtain. I think the only way they said that they would trade Surtain is if it's involving a quarterback. Number two, I mean, to me, once you bring back Nick Sirianni and stuff, you've already forced your hand. You're now in win mode. Now you're in win now mode. And the Eagles, they love their offense. They're not going to take weapons away and replace it on another side of the ball. Like, the idea is to keep the players that you have that are good and add to it. I don't think it'll work. I don't think they would do it.
Well, where are you going with this? That team's going to win 5 to 8 games this year, and you're going to have another career year with A.J. Brown and nothing. What's it got you except this? $60 million of money you could have spent on your defense.
Okay, so you could go out, you could get Patrick Surtain, and then you'll have Devontae Smith and who?
Well, so then that means you don't believe in Hurts because
I think
wait a minute. Well, wait a minute. You don't believe. Well, then eventually the quarterback has got to carry the team, doesn't he?
Yeah, I mean, but
that's what they did in Kansas City. Philly, they got rid of the best deep threat in NFL history, and they're in their second Super Bowl going for 2 in a row.
But you're talking about one of the greatest.
Okay, well then he's
greatest
not a $50 million a year guy.
Well, I mean, that's fair. That's fair to say. But to me, I don't think you can not give Jalen Hurts weapons at this point. I think he has to have weapons. And until maybe 2-3 years down the road, that won't be the case. I don't think that A.J. Brown's going to be able to stay long term. I don't think we're dealing with 3-4 years of A.J. Brown because you're going to have to pay Devontae Smith. At some point, you have to break it up. But to bring back Nick Sirianni, do everything they're doing.
You think the whole problem is Sirianni coming back?
I think that establishes everything that they're going to do this season. I think once they made the decision on Sirianni, it tells us this is not, it tells us where they're going. I can't even entertain a rebuild because of who the coach is. Now, if we had an all new coaching staff, I would be open to all that. You want to get draft picks, you want to retool, rebuild, whatever. But as soon as Nick Sirianni comes back, a guy who you even said is on the hot seat more than anybody. Well, you gotta retool. You can't. You're not in rebuild mode. You're in trying to salvage this thing. He's trying to save his job, and the Eagles are trying to get back to where they were. And it might fail epically. You're right. It might fail epically, but that's the decision that they've made. So I don't see how they could afford to get rid of A.J. Brown this year. And then to get him and swap him for Patrick Surtain, to me, is you're just moving your talent around. This team has got to add to what they already have.
What about the reports coming out of Boston and a guy that I respect a lot? By the way, he blocks me on Twitter because me and him have gone back and forth. Greg Bibard, who's up there with the Boston Sports Journal, he used to work for Sports Illustrated. And he's a Hall of Fame voter. And me and him, when I was on the air in Boston at EEI, we used to go back and forth, and I couldn't stand it. He can't stand me. However, I respect his work. He said that the Philadelphia Eagles had reached out to Belichick. And by the way, it wasn't just the Eagles, it was also the Cowboys that expressed interest in having Belichick as the head coach. What'd you make of that?
I don't buy it. I don't, and not. I don't buy it. Not because
It says he's still a candidate for 24.
But here's the thing. Can you imagine? And I would pay to see this on pay-per-view. Imagine draft night, the war room for the Eagles. And Bill Belichick says, I really need this linebacker. And Howie Roseman says, no, I calculated the calculations. We're not going to do that. We're going to do this. I can't see it working. I can't see Bill Belichick and Howie Roseman working in that way. Because Bill Belichick is going to want complete control. So unless they're willing to throw Howie in the boiler room again, I can't see it. But
by the way, as Yale said,
but let's say they did do it, Sills, right? What does that tell you? It tells you that they're not rebuilding, because here's another guy that's been 70 years old or something. He doesn't have time for a rebuild. So to me, all the things we're hearing are this team is gearing up to try to go back to the Super Bowl.
So again, here, just like Yale said, Greg is standing by his reporting. He says he's going to be the top candidate for the Eagles in 2024. He's the top candidate to replace Nick Sirianni in 2024 is Bill Belichick.
Then I assume Howie's going to, because
why wouldn't he go? It's about time.
Well, I understand that, but it's hard for I believe that there's secret photos or something that Howie has on Jeffrey Lewis.
Yeah.
I'm telling you, they were in a bar in Mexico or something like that, and something happened because I've never seen a guy with so many lives. I mean, it is a guy that has been through a lot of different.
Did you say lives or lies?
Lives. So I want to know what the photos are
for you here. Are you confident that he is going to do a good job? How many people with his, I think, 9 picks, are you looking at this draft being one of the most important drafts? Because if they are, like you said, they believe in win now, you've got to get some starters in here. On defense, they've got to get some starters.
Yeah, I agree. I mean that's what they're telling me. I believe with keeping Nick Sirianni, so they're going to have to. I think it's always scary when Howie drafts. Let's just be honest. I mean, he's had some better drafts, but it's a very scary thing. And one of the things the Eagles seem like they don't like to do a lot of times is let these young rookie guys play enough. I thought Sidney Brown should have played more. I thought Nolan Smith could have. Why does it take these guys so long to play? So the draft is important, but I think you're going to see a very active free agency period too. I think the Eagles will be. It's going to be entertaining, to say the least.
I got something here for you. Now, I know what the dirt is on what Roseman has on Jeffrey.
What is it?
Are you ready?
Yeah.
He's got photos of him. Like, I'm taking some from one of the guys. They got photos of him on Epstein Island.
That's what I'm saying. It's got to be something like that. That's probably what it is. Because he survived a lot of different things, man. He really has. And Howie, I will say this. When Howie has been aggressive the last few times, like really aggressive, the Eagles have had pretty good seasons. They won a Super Bowl. Then they went back to one. So, I mean, it can work out. But this team, in my opinion, based on what we saw just from the coaching hiring, this is a team that is looking at retooling, not rebuilding.
Okay, finally here then. So you think this team is a what-win team? 9, 10, 11, 12?
As of right now, where we're at today, I'll say 10.
So it's a 10-6 football team.
10 right now with and it could go either way drastically depending upon how the all season goes. So, but I would say
the Packers 10. Better?
No.
Are the Cowboys better?
No. I will never give you that. I will
You're
never give you
You're
that.
not going to give me. Are the Lions better?
Yeah.
49ers, right?
Yeah.
Are the Rams?
No.
Are the Bucks?
No.
So you think they're the third best team in the NFC?
Third or fourth. Yeah. But I think there's a gap between 1 and 2, and I think there's a fall off.
Oh yeah. The fourth team in the NFC is closer to the second team than the first team is to the second team, the Niners.
Right.
You're right. I think there's a pretty good gap there. But I'll tell you what, man. Awesome stuff as always.
Thank you, man.
You kicked ass today. Way to go, my friend.
Appreciate it, man. Thank you, man.
Got it. Make sure you check out my friend's podcast. It's absolutely sensational. He's great at it. He's great at what he does. We are so loving that he comes on the program with us. Thank you so much, my friend.
Thank you, my man. Take care.
You got it. Philly.500. Hit the like button. Keep it here on the National Football Show.
Football and who